So America's beginning really started with we were just a place to dump everybody that kings in the world didn't want. Not just black people. No. And white people weren't just brought here under indentured servitude. They were chained as well. So when, you have these people, the elites, that want to say your country goes back to slavery, well, that's because of the elites. It is. But see, this is where God will turn it, because as it says in the Bible, God will use it all to turn it to the way he wants it. So I did a video recently about how Havilah, which is in the book of Genesis, Havilah is where the Garden of Eden is. And there's a Havilah in California. It's in all this national forestry. I did a couple videos the last couple days about this. So it would make sense that that's where God would want the Garden of Eden, because in the end, all the kings of the world, many of them, have treated America like it's some dumping ground for criminals. And I don't mean currently. I mean going way back. They did it with Scots that were prisoners. He has been described as one of the most hated men in Scottish history, a brutal landowner who forcibly evicted up to 3,000 tenants to Canada, some handcuffed and thrown on boats at, I can't even pronounce that, like cattle, that Loch Boysdale. So Colonel John Gordon of Cluny Castle, Aberdeenshire, embarked on removing people from their Aberdeen homes in 1851 after he saw poor returns on his estate in the Western Isles, which included land, and I can't see it all because of the recording. And as you can see here, a compulsory public meeting in Loch Boysdale, South Uist, was held on August 11th, 1851, after which tenants were forced on board waiting immigration vessels. The clan chief, an Eton and Cambridge educated man who had been banned by his family's trust from visiting his Scottish property, was forced to sell due to mounting personal debt. Yeah, there seems to be a pattern of this, that when the wealthy go into debt, then they would send people to America. I mean, back in those days. I'm not saying all of them, every clan or anything, but there were those bad apples from different clans that did it. And it was more than just indentured servitude. A number of Scots who came to America in the 17th century did not come by choice. Some were deported as criminals, others as members of the losing side in civil and ecclesiastical disputes. Scottish armies were defeated by the forces of Oliver Cromwell 3 times between 1648 and 1651. And on each occasion, several hundred prisoners were sent to America. Nearly 200 persons, of them guilty of participation in a rebellion led by the Earl of Argyll, were deported. And I can't see the last part of it there because of the recording. Approximately 1.5 million Scots have immigrated to America. They have been settling here since the earliest colonial days. Many of the Scots actually went to Canada, though. But some came here, but it seems that they were sent, there were people, the leaders, the kings, were sending their prisoners here, or just using America the same way people are using it today, as some dumping ground. So see, that's where I think God will make America shine the brightest, because you've used our country to either enrich yourself. And I love how people say, oh, well, that's what America's about. Yeah, it is. It's about you enriching yourself and getting the American dream, but not at the cost of, lifetime of people that you step all over to do it. Yeah, this is the problem with kings. I think God knows it. This is God is not impressed with kings. Some, very few in the Bible, though. There's only like, what, 3 or 4 that he's really, impressed with. But most of them, it's like the very fact that he has to put a king on you is because you don't realize he's the king. And then they the majority seem to really just go astray. But America seems that, so when people want to say that your country is racist like it's because of me, no, my ancestors were probably enslaved and forced to come here. Just because I have white skin doesn't mean anything. You go look at some of the Scots that were sent here as prisoners, they were chained to boats, okay? So let's get the history factual here. Wasn't just Africa, they were doing it here too. They were doing it to Scots, they were doing it to the Irish, the Scottish Irish most especially, sending their gangs here, sending this, so that's what America has been to the rest of the world, is a dumping ground. Yeah. Maybe that's why God's raised us up and has protected us so much. Yeah, we really should be thanking God, because the way the rest of the world treats America is, that's the reason they don't pay anything and America has to pay for everything. How many times has Donald Trump talked about that? That they don't pay, the other countries don't pay their fair share, but America, we have to pay for the rest of the world. There were Highlander immigrants who helped build America. That's where most of our modern day everything has come from, is the Highlanders. Most of it has. The Highlands of Scotland proved to be a natural recruiting ground for immigrants that were to help build North America during the 18th and 19th centuries. The breakdown of Highland society and culture created bleak prospects on home soil for ordinary folk, while their revered fighting powers of the clans made their men sought after recruits for the British Army fighting in the American Revolution. Yep. So, yeah, the Scots brought many of our modern day things that we have. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because look at where it's all gone now. I guess it's a good thing. If your immigrant Scot ancestor came to America in the 18th century, he probably was a Presbyterian, though a fair number of Highlanders were Roman Catholics, and some Scottish Episcopal clergy came to America. The Scots in young America developed new religious sects, of their own, among which were the Glassites, who attempted to return to primitive and apostolic models. You can see what the rest of this says. So this is where the sects of your religion come in. This is part of the problem too. So part of the problem with people of royalty, in my opinion, your kings, is that even with the best of intentions, they think it's their duty to set everybody on the right course, and maybe to a certain degree, but that's really should just be done in the home with each family. But what they've all done is they've created churches. They've created middlemen. There's a reason that Jesus said very few teachers, very few. Now all we have is teachers. And it's all the royalty that has decided the teachers, yet the very royalty themselves don't know the Holy Spirit. Because I keep saying that if everybody just got to know God on a personal level, the way Jesus Christ wanted it to be, which was that he's the one to go through, not any saints, not any Roman Catholic Church, not any of this garbage, okay? He wanted, because he knew that was the only way. If he made, put it this way, if he made everybody a Moses, then everybody would know what God wanted. But instead, you get these middlemen, whether they're royalty, whether they're kings, whether they're churches, and yet Jesus said, no, there should be very few teachers, because he was the teacher. And that's what everybody just should have taken, if they really wanted to follow Jesus, is done exactly what he did. He wasn't out building a bunch of churches. Yeah. He wasn't out acting like a king. So all you royalty, all you churches, get a clue. We could all have a better life.